This lesson covers performing an upgrade to Windows Server 2016. Microsoft supports an N-2 supported in-place upgrade for standalone and clustered hosts. N-2 means 2 previous versions. So if I want to upgrade to Windows Server 2016, I have to be running either Windows Server 2012 or Windows Server 2012 R2. Now there is an exception. If I have a virtual switch present on a machine, for example, here I've connected to a Hyper-V server. If I go to Virtual Switch Manager, I have a virtual switch. If I have a virtual switch, I can only upgrade from a previous version, i.e. 2012 R2. This will be the case for all Hyper-V hosts. So for a Hyper-V host, I can only do an in-place upgrade from 2012 R2 to 2016. If I'm using NIC teaming, so I could look at this in Server Manager, go to my local server, and I would see NIC teaming. If it was set to enabled, then no in-place upgrade is supported. Generally, an in-place upgrade for a server operating system is frowned upon and not recommended. The guidance for a server operating system is to do a fresh installation of Windows Server 2016 and then migrate workloads over. An in-place upgrade of roles and features may sometimes work and may also have challenges. I've seen issues with, for example, Windows Server Update Services. The prerequisites change and it doesn't completely give you the right information. I've also seen problems with domain membership, and I would actually have to change a machine, which is easy to do. I could, for example, go to Control Panel, I'll go to System, and if I think I'm having troubles with domain membership, one way to see this is if I was in, for example, Windows Explorer, and I just go and look at anything on the file system, I could right-click and do Properties, select Security, do Edit, click Add. You'll notice right now it's showing me from this location. If I expand it, I can see the entire directory, I can see different domains, the OUs, etc. So machines that I've seen in the past when they're upgraded, locations just shows current machine and a blank entire directory. Even though I'm logging on with domain credentials, something has got a bit messed up. So through the System Control Panel, I would do Change Settings, hit Change, select Workgroup, type in a workgroup name, hit OK, and then before I reboot, I actually then change it back to domain. Type in the domain name, enter my domain credential, click OK, it will ask me to reboot, and I find that tends to fix those problems. So just be aware that yes, I can do an in-place upgrade for a number of built-in roles and features. It generally is not recommended. The other reason it's not recommended is just a period of unavailability. If I perform an in-place upgrade, for example, this is a Windows Deployment Services box, and it's currently running. If I go ahead and look at my MS Info 32, I'm running Windows Server 2012 R2 Data Center. So I could do an in-place upgrade of this to Windows Server 2016. But an upgrade takes time. It has to replace core operating system files. It has to go through and redo certain initialization. Maybe it's unavailable for an hour. So for that 1 hour, whatever role it was doing is not available. Whereas if I installed a fresh Windows Server 2016 box, set up the services, migrated or copied content over, I can then just flip a switch and move over to my new box. So the period of unavailability is much, much smaller. So that would be the preferred approach. Now, if it was a Hyper-V host and it wasn't clustered, which is not the norm, or with Hyper-V, I would stand up a new Hyper-V server, then I can do a shared nothing live migration. I can move VMs between unclustered nodes. It can even copy the storage. So that would be my approach. If I do have to do it, make sure your 2012 R2 or 2012 server is healthy. There's no problems on it. Make sure it's fully patched. Once I have that, I can go to the 2016 media. I would run the setup. Now, as part of this execution, it will also go and check for any critical updates that it's going to require to make this as smooth as possible. It's going to do a scan of this box and tell me, well, maybe there's components that are not going to work on Windows Server 2016. So it's going through a scanning period. Now it's done that pre-check. I can select, do I want to download and install any additional updates or do that later? I also have the option to return certain information to Microsoft about my experience for the upgrade to help improve future upgrades. So I'll click Next. It's now going to go and check on the Microsoft Update servers, are there anything required? It's now asking for a product key. I use Active Directory based activation, so I'm going to use the generic Windows Server 2016 data center key. I select, do I want server core or do I want desktop experience? Remember, for most of your deployments, you should be using server core. Because I use this to demonstrate, I'm going to leave this as desktop experience. Accept the license. Now I'm choosing what to keep. Now it's saying personal files and apps. I want to keep all of that, but I could also say don't keep anything. Start as a fresh installation. Now it's going through and it's getting any updates it identified, and we'll now continue through the installation. Now it's completed getting any updates and those checks. It's telling me upgrades are not recommended. As previously mentioned, perform a clean install and then migrate settings over. So I would hit confirm, say yes, I acknowledge this fact. So I'm going to check I have enough disk space. I can now confirm my options and hit install. It will now go through a number of steps. It will reboot a couple of times, and once it's finished, I will have a brand new Server 2016 install, but it would have migrated over my roles and features and all my settings and data.